Hello, Charlie TCG here, and welcome back to my channel. Today's video, we are looking at Arceus Vstar Ice Rider Calyrex, a really fun archetype that's come around in Japan purely on the basis that it can keep up with Lugia and Giratina Vstar, and I'm really excited to share about it. So, it's done incredibly well right now in Japan. It's won a couple city leagues, got a few top 4s, top 8s, and it's constantly doing well. One of the strongest Arceus toolbox there is out there. Now, why is it this one instead of like a counter box with Drapions and all of those sort of techs? Well, the reason why is because Calyrex has an amazing attack called Max Lance, 10 damage plus 120 more damage for each water energy you discard, well, up to 2. So that's 250 damage. With a choice spell, that's 280. That's the magic number on Lugias, on Arceuses, on Giratinas, if they don't have the V-Guard on there. And if they do, well, you hit really hard and then they have to retreat and then you can just boss KO it later on. It's really, really good, can keep up with this evolving meta. And I love that this is the version that's doing strong. There is a downside. It does have a poor weakness. It kind of gets caught in the crossfire of people trying to KO Miraidons and counter that by being fighting. And Ice Rider can kind of get out, kind of doesn't work well against Zamazenta, the one with Retaliate in Lost Box, so it can kind of lose and be vulnerable to that. So anyway, let's look at the list. I run a 3-3 Arceus and 2-2 Calyrex. Arceus has been around for so long, no need to really big description. Amazing, powerful attacks, which hits hard, but also powers up your bench Vs, as well as a V-Star ability, which is so strong, able to search your deck for any 2 cards and put them in your hand. Because it's Arceus, we've teamed up with Bibarel, a 2-2 line of Bibarel, using the 60 HP Bidoof, which has bench barrier, really good against the Radiant Greninja, which is really, really strong right now. And Bibarel up to draw until we have 5. We are running 1 copy of the Swovet, this brand new card released in our new set, which is a really fun ability, which is just shuffle your hand, put it at the bottom of your deck, and draw 1. This works well with the barrel, like if you really need to dig for a card that's not in your hand, and you have 5 cards in your hand, you just shuffle it, put it at the bottom of your deck, draw 1, and then use the barrel, draw it to your 4. Really, really powerful, and Greninja to constantly try and get some energy, get some drawing. You could substitute to have Gardevoir Gardevoir Radiant Gardevoir to reduce the damage done to your V Pokemon. So that's really, really strong as well. And also works well with getting some water energies in the discard with its ability. And you can utilize with Melanie. So the energies, we are obviously running 4 double turbo, really good for Arceus to constantly just get as many cards out as possible, get as many, see as many cards as possible with setting up, as well as your V-Guard energy to try and beef up their HP a bit. So you're not getting one shot by Tyrannitars or one shot by Giratinas, especially with that's why we have such a high energy count. So we're trying to keep up as much pressure as possible. The Collapse is our stadium of choice. The reason why I'm running Collapse over some other stadiums, pure on the basis it can work really well with slowing on the opponent's setup. You put this against a Lugia or a deck like Giratina, they are going to be really struggling to try and get their Pokemons out all the time if they're having to discard some important resources. Melanie just works so well, especially with Arceus as well as Ice Rider, so you can constantly be reusing their attacks as much as possible. Lots of hand disruption with Roxanne and Judge, as well as Boss's Orders and Serena. Serena, I feel like, is still really strong in the meta. You don't need to get rid of it yet, but seeing how important and popular these still are, that warrants a spot for having Serena. And again, Roxanne, Judge, trying to disrupt your opponent as much as possible while hitting hard is brilliant. Supporting items, we do have 4 Nest Ball for Ultra as your Pokemon search of choice, and 2 Capturing Aroma. I really like this. Sadly, we did say goodbye to Evolution Incest, but Capturing Aroma is just a good way. If it's heads, you get one of your evolved Pokemon. If it's tails, you get one of your basics. It's like a fun double-edged sword and not having to put them on the bench or discard some resources. Energy Switch is being quite popular right now in Japan, and from my testing and really looking into the card, I really like it. It lets you utilize like Radiant Greninja because you can't really set it up through Arceus and Melanie. A way to switch some energies to it is really, really strong. And high switching counts as well because these are really high retreat cost Pokemon. They're not always going to take the advantage of Beach Court. So this is my basic list. I'm very happy with how it works so far. You could obviously argue Radiant Gardevoir is a big option. Potentially you could even run like Empoleon if you're a bit scared of Lockbox, or potential cards like Drapion if you're scared of Mew, because that can also get set up and attack again into Mewtwo v Union and Gardevoir as well. So that's my basic one. The matchups, well, as I just said, I feel like it's got a really decent of these big attackers. Miraidon, Lugia, Zoroark, and Giratina, I feel like it's got a really strong position against them. It can one-shot pretty much all of these Pokemon right now, and that's something which is really, really powerful. Especially with Giratina. If you can KO Giratinas while they KO you back, if you get the first one, you can try and win the prize trade. And Arceus Vstar, the reason why I'm worrying being mentioned is it is really powerful when you could team up with Curlius with constantly drawing, getting the Gengars in the discard pile. And I feel like Zoroark can kind of keep up in the meta, but this deck can always outpace it. Miraidon, you don't need too much, it can work without the damage boost. You can two-shot Regielekis. Same thing with Lugia. Again, as long as they don't try and get KO or Stonjourner and go through the single prize route, you have a really good matchup against it. The reason why I put in the negatives with Arceus Box is because Arceus Box is always adapting. It's always changing, and probably right now after releasing this video, there's going to be another Arceus style box which is going to do really, really well. I feel like Arceus can really, really utilize it. Still has so many amazing resources, and that's something which this deck can really struggle with at times. It can get really big KOs, but if they're say utilizing another attackers, if they're using more healing, and especially if like Curlier with Sharon's KO, they're constantly healing, it can be really, really tough for us to get some big one-hit KOs. Same thing I say with Mew and Gardevoir EX. Mew, if you're really scared of Mew, definitely run a Drapion. You can't one-hit KO Mew VMAX. You can't one-hit KO the Genesect, and same thing with your Arceus, you can one-hit KO them with that as well. But not one-hit KOing the Mew VMAX is really, really tricky. So that's why you could warrant a space like Drapion. And Gardevoir EX, the reason why I put 50-50, if Gardevoir sets up, you can be really, really struggle because they can just send out one prizes and get KOs on your VMAXs and V-Stars, which is really, really deadly. And even that is something which is really worrying. And if they have Lunatone and Zacian V, they can utilize the Skysteel Stone and get 3 or 4 prizes, which is quite scary. But again, Gardevoir takes a while to set up, so you're probably in a good favorable matchup. It doesn't have a huge amount of big weaknesses, this deck does. But if it really gets outpaced, that's why this deck can really, really fall apart. So this is the list overall. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. I'm a really big fan of this and really enjoying starting to test this list. I think this is definitely something which is always going to be evolving and something to keep an eye and watch out, especially when you're thinking about some post-rotation lists. So anyway, if you've enjoyed this video, please leave a like down below. I really appreciate it. The channel's been doing amazing so far, and I'm loving that you guys are enjoying the post-rotation content. Leave me a like and drop me a follow on Twitter so you don't miss anything when I'm going to release a video. I will see you guys in a couple of days for another video. And yeah, see you guys around. Bye for now.